Mm. Mm. Great, yeah. So whatever is in the moment with those three, what are you feeling good about? What's the struggle right now? What are you grateful for? And the space is open.
I'll start us off. Um, yeah, what I'm feeling good about, we're in our halfway through our 9th year of the Physician Leadership Academy that Arowana has been part of from the beginning and continues to be part of. Yeah, so I feel really proud about that. And we've now published a paper and are working on a second paper, and 165 physicians have gone through the program now, and it's having an impact. We're seeing an impact on systems in Columbus now with the number of people. We have the largest primary care practice in the United States now, and 16 of the 10 of the 15 board members are graduates of our program. So we're really excited about that. What am I challenged by? The constant pressure from the board, my board and others to scale this thing. And I've been resisting not the idea of scaling, but I just don't believe anymore you replicate programs. And so I've shared that I'm willing to be part of helping other people think through how they want to do what we're doing, but we can't just replicate what we're doing. So I'm struggling a bit with that. And what am I grateful for? This institute, the ALIA Institute. I can't tell you the effect it's had on my life and my profession. So I remain grateful, and beyond that, and not any smaller than that, I'm grateful for my 10-year-old granddaughter, who I spend lots of time with. And as she said to me at Christmas time, she said, "Papa, I don't want presents from you. I want experiences." I said, "You got it. I got you."
Wow. Wow.
So that's what we're doing, is building experiences. So that's me.
Thank you.
I'm happy to follow that. I'm sort of moved by the things that you chose, Phil. I think I'm most proud of the work that I'm doing in the field that offers support, housing, and a variety of services to elders. We're in the 17th year of that program that was just begun as a sort of experiment, and probably have, I don't know, 500 or 600 alums. And Phil, as you said, my experience is I can see the way it's changing the field, and it's a field that still needs tremendous, dramatic change. So I'm most proud of that. The challenge is how to have a full life that isn't over full. During the season of COVID, I live here on a creek, and I kayaked. I mean, I kayaked and groceries came in, and I kayaked and groceries came in. And there was huge spaciousness of a kind, although most of my work was on Zoom. And now the cup is filling up. And the challenge is how to continue to maintain the spaciousness of all kinds in the blessings of that, the fuller cup. Grateful for on Christmas Day, my first grandchild, my granddaughter June, turned 6 months old, and the kids who had lived in Brooklyn had decided to move from Brooklyn to Washington, D.C., where they're a 45-minute drive from me. And I'm
Mhm.
just blown away by the change that represents in my life and the sheer absolute wonder of it. So I'm grateful for that and the other relationships in my life that make life so full.
Hmm. Hmm. Thank you.
I can follow the thread and just mention that the thing I'm enjoying is that so much is the pandemic's, kind of multicolored influences on my life, and one of them being much more local work, but that coinciding with, the 2 pandemic babies that were born. I have great responsibility over the next 2 days to make bunny birthday cakes. And so it's just, to echo what Phil and Judy have said, it's such a richness. And I think for me, tied to this sense of, local work really being in play, bringing those two dimensions together in place has been really kind of inspiring, intriguing, joyful. In terms of a challenge, I think yesterday I was going on a call and I thought, the question I'm going to try and ask at the beginning of every call is, what are you learning about the climate crisis from the place you're in? What if we started every conversation with a question, or what if I started every conversation with a question like that? And I was so struck by how deeply personal my response was. And Robin Athey, it was with Robin I was having a call, some of you know her. And so feeling daunted, overwhelmed, challenged in the struggle, sometimes by connecting the localness, the close-inness of expanding family with the climate challenge, I think is a real focus of my attention now. I'm very grateful that over the last year, I was able to be caring for my mother as she was departing, and the fact that about an hour before she died, she decided to send emails out to all her neighbors in her condo building and say, see you soon in the hallways, and just be able to keep a brightness and a relationship between us that we'd, I think, been seeking all of our lives, all of mine. And the threads and memories that just seeing your faces, Sarah, I remember the first time we met was side by side in the cafeteria, and you said, are you a member of the community? And I said, what community are you talking about? And Judy, whatever moved you to write the trough, thank you, because I take it pretty well everywhere I travel now. Yes, but good to see you all.
I might jump in. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I was like trying to get Susan to make this be on the other day so that I wouldn't have to be in the middle of something. But I watched the video of the first one and I missed you, and so I'm squeezing it in kind of awkwardly. Yeah, I'm really grateful for the work that I'm doing right now. One of my clients for a number of years was the city of Halifax building their climate plan and engaging kind of stakeholders from across the city to help build the plan, and then starting to think about how do we kind of develop a sort of culture of prototyping climate action. And in the spring, I went and joined the team full time. And yeah, it's been really amazing. I got to go to COP this year with the mayor and my boss, and really like our council unanimously passed our climate plan and then just passed a 3% tax increase to like fully fund it. And it's one of the most ambitious climate plans in North America. And anyways, like it feels very inspiring. It feels very like stars aligning place to kind of apply all the things I've been learning for a long time into the thing that one of the issues that I care most about. And so it feels really alive. And right now I'm teaching a course that I inherited from Tim Mary, which is basically like a version of an art of hosting for managers in the Nova Scotia Public Service. And I'm teaching it with Rachel Dara. And it's, yeah, I was like kind of getting ready and having a lot of calling on my ALIA memories, because it's like it's like a well-paid yearly gig. It's kind of nice to do, but also like, how do I actually make it feel really alive? And I think that, yeah, that's the struggle. It's like just Jack's 12, and yeah, being a single mother is still like tiring, and I'm still like consulting on the side, and yeah, just like managing the busyness and finding I'm struggling to prune away the things that don't matter so that I have good energy for the things that do. And I'm grateful for a lot of things. Like I feel in a really, like a lot of things are really ripening in my life right now, but I think the thing that comes to mind and is maybe connected to Susan, is that I've had this like emerging relationship and doing a lot of work in like settler and Mi'kmaq, which is the First People of Nova Scotia communities, and have made some like really deep relationships and have had some opportunities to study with Indigenous elders. And there's a lot of room in my work to really kind of center climate justice and think about equity in climate work, and to kind of continue those relationships and exploring kind of uncharted paths. But yeah, I think I'm finding this real kind of resonance between like Mi'kmaq knowledge and Buddhism, and yeah, it's like really anchoring me. It's really like nourishing me and sourcing me right now. Anyway, I'm just really happy to see all of you, even though it's on a weird screen and I'm kind of perched, but thanks for having me.
So I'd like to step in now. That Sarah, I like it. I'm aware of. I keep fighting on these Zoom calls not to sit up straight. That it's like an old school thing of having to sit up straight. Even now, I'm not sitting up straight, but I like it that you're not. It helps. So what I've noticed for me is is that you know, when you say struggle, it was you know, I don't think there's much struggle now. Last year or a couple years ago, somebody, you know, in the really throngs of COVID, somebody asked me, "Are you retired?" And I was a little offended at first, and then I just answered, "Well, no, but maybe I'm practicing for it." And so I'm aware of entering a new like part of my life where I felt like life had, looking back on it, I felt like all along life had been pushing me forward. And the struggle was to keep up with the push forward. And it doesn't feel like that now. It feels like it's a combination of everything I had been doing kind of falling through during COVID, and maybe needing to sit still. And then becoming, well, I get to do just what I want to do. I don't have to do anything. And that's That's like a new thing for me. So it's like the struggle. No, I don't think there is a struggle. Maybe there's an acceptance of things, and then how do I dance with that? Because the movement is still important, and I've become really aware of the physical being with people, like the physical conversation with people, not the mental conversation so much as just the physical conversation with people has become really important, or more aware, since I haven't had it as much. And that's been really interesting. So I go for walks every day. I'm lucky I had to move into town from where we were living in the mountains, but I'm right on the edge of town, so I get to walk in the hills. And I'm aware of whenever I pass somebody, there's a physical conversation that happens. So that awareness was a little subconscious before, and now it's much more present. I like it. So I guess that's enough for now. It's nice to see all you guys. Everybody looks a lot older. Except for me.
We could have done without that comment, Bob.
No, everybody else was thinking the same thing, I'm sure. I just wanted to say it. Anyway, I'll put the talking piece back.
Well, I could follow up on that. I continue to teach, but there's been an increasing emphasis with students on somatic experience and felt sense, especially continuing the work of Francisco Varela, who was a big inspiration in the beginning, and I've got a renewed interest in his work. And the idea that meditation is introspective is now something that I'm trying to kind of regard as a myth, or a necessary myth in the beginning. So what I'm doing with a lot of students is introducing the idea of contemplative interaction. And I started doing this a long time ago. I did a little bit of it with Adam's companies when Jaworski was still a part of it. And I published a chapter in a book recently on meditative inquiry and how that influences educators in terms of research and teaching. And I have a book proposal that I'm working on with Routledge, again, aimed at people in the academic world who still tend to make worlds of enemies and allies, and recruiting students to be critical of this and sort of advocates for that. And I feel that the students need to come to that themselves, and engaging their own connectedness is the first step, since many of them right now feel isolated. And that's, for me, I just love that work. More challenging is two really active grandchildren, and I'm very grateful for them. I mean, I would put challenges and gratefulness together in my world, and it competes for time. And so the challenge is simply not having enough time. Since my daughter lives close by, Julia, and like right now, she just took off for 4 days. So there's more responsibility for me and Trudy to take care of the kids and the dog and everything, which it's great to laugh about and share with other people. But in the midst of it, while you're getting your, dings on the cell phone, it's a little challenging. And so the pandemic was hard on them, especially, and us. So all of that is in the mix. And I wish I could say that there's no struggle, Bob. I think that's incredible privileged karma. I can't quite say that. But I can say that I'm deeply grateful, especially for the practices that my teachers have given me and the confidence in what can happen between people. So I'm grateful for ALIA, Michael's inspiration, and all the people that came along and contributed, including all of you. So I think I'll pause there.
I'll pick up from there, David. And it's really clear to me right now that what I'm most grateful for is just being here in this room with all of you and remembering many parts of the last 20 years and how I've grown and changed and become more of who I am during that period. It's an interesting time in my life. One of the big changes is that my spouse and I moved into a co-housing community that we helped create starting about 6 years ago. And after a lifetime of working for and with and in community, I actually have to live in one. and like these strange discoveries that all these grand ideas about what community is and learning that community is really the text chain that where when my daughter came home in the summer and went downstairs and there was no half and half in the refrigerator. And I had to put out this immediate message to the community that I'm a failure. I didn't get half and half. And 1 minute later, the first pint of half and half arrived. And 2 minutes later, the second pint of half and half arrived. And realizing that it's half and half that makes community, not some of these grand ideas and grand strategies. Bob, something that you said, it really, I don't feel this morning, right now in this instant, being in this field, I don't feel particularly challenged by anything. But as I lean into that a little bit more, what I think that's connected to is I think I'm beginning to be able to let go of the sense of urgency that has sort of controlled me for the last 50 years. And that really came into focus over the last couple of months. I managed to get back to Japan. Japan opened up in October for the first time in 3 years. And what was so powerful is that the work I ended up doing, nobody wanted to talk about their projects or their plans or their work or any of that kind of crap. What they really wanted to talk about is who they are and how they changed during the pandemic and what's arising and what's coming up now. And realizing just in a different way, in a more embodied way, that we're just in a time of chaos, and we're going to be in this time of chaos for as many generations as we can see down the road, and that our real invitation is how do we live well in a time of chaos. And the one thing that became very clear is that we don't live well in it that sense of urgency. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for being in my mid 70s and Judy, something that you said when we talked last year about how each day you just try to do one thing and that's been kind of this interesting guide for me. You know, I'm not there yet. I still try to do 70, but this calling to just do one thing is what's alive for me. Good to be here.
Thanks, Bob. Maybe I'll follow you. Wonderful to see you all. I think I enjoyed listening to the recording of the previous call, and I wanted to be on this one. And the strongest thought I had was that my gratitude about ALIA is not really about the teachings, which I think all of which went over my head, but the friendship and especially the fun and games with many of you and with Michael and Jerry and Jim. It was really a hoot. That was in that sense, it was one of the funnest experiences I've had in year after year, and I just enjoyed myself a lot, and I enjoyed the fun. So that's what I'm grateful for. I had a very challenging year last year. I still haven't completely figured out why it was so challenging, but I went to two big meetings. I don't generally go to conferences. I most of the time just do my own thing, go to meetings that I'm running. And I went to two very big conferences last year, Davos and COP, and they were terrible experiences. And not because there was anything wrong with, no, don't get me wrong, it wasn't at all that there was anything wrong with the meetings. In fact, I came away from both of them with great admiration for the organizers, and I think they're wonderful events. I have a lot to say about that, but at least for me, it was an overwhelming experience of smallness. And I found it very challenging and very, so maybe most people figure that out earlier in their life than I did, but anyhow, I figured it out. I'm going to answer the first part of your question, Susan and Barbara, which is what I'm happy about, not necessarily, which is that I'm taking some time off. Dorothy and I are in Pringle Bay in South Africa. We've been here a couple of months, be here another couple of months. Then I'm going to go to Japan we're going to go to Japan for a couple of months. And I'm really enjoying not doing anything at all. So the one thing a day, Bob, is what reminded me of it. Like, okay, today is upper body exercises. Tomorrow is lower body exercises. That's the one thing a day. And so I'm really enjoying being off. I've relinquished my management roles in Rios. I'll still be doing the kind of work I've always done, but not full time and not with any executive responsibility, which I've been trying to do for years. And finally just insisted on. So I'm very happy about that. It's not at all boring to me not to be doing anything at all. I definitely haven't gotten bored yet. And the one work thing I'm doing is when I go to Japan, one of the speeches I'm gonna give is trying to summarize what I've learned over these past decades. So I've been enjoying, I haven't started to write it yet, but trying to make a story out of the whole thing. And I'll say it just because John mentioned it'll be not just about love and power, but also about justice and how those three go together. And the final thing I want to say is about Wendy. So the way I met Wendy is she came up to me at ALIA in the bar. I guess it was in, oh, it must have been in the Netherlands. I don't think there was a bar in Halifax. Anyway, she came up to me at the bar and she said, well, I hear you've written about, I know you have thoughts about power and love, but I know how they're embodied, or anyhow, something like that. So we should hook up, and we did. And that was the meeting where we decided to do a course together and announced it some evening. We were going to teach power and love together, which occasioned a lot of bold comments from people there, and that's what we did for the following 2 or 3 years, which was fun. I don't know if it was very successful. My mother took it the following year. I guess that was back in Halifax, and said she thought it was a little thin. The curriculum was a little thin. But anyhow, other than that, but it was fun. It was really fun.
That's so funny.
But lots of stories about hijinks at ALIA, especially the reindeer awards. Somebody told me that Michael had his reindeers on his mantelpiece to the end, and I am very happy about that.
Maybe I'll say a few things if I could. I'm probably going to do it in reverse order like Adam did. As I see your faces, I just feel your beauty, and I'm so grateful for the each and every one of you, no exceptions. How you've touched my bubble of consciousness, what I think of as me, I guess, and how you've expanded that bubble, how you've stretched it in such a sweet way, so in such a kind and loving and gentle way. I'm really touched by all of you. Arowana, you come to mind so often. I remember having a walk with you, and my question that day was, I can't seem to find joy. I can find everything else, but I can't seem to find joy. And your very small pointing out exercise was, you asked me a question that, did you have anything that gave you joy in the last 24 hours? I said, yeah, I went up to the hill with my baby grandsons and we planted giant pumpkin seeds. And she said, there's the message. The message is it's in the small things, it's not in the big things. So that was just something that touched me very deeply. Recently, I was asked to speak to a group that they call themselves mindful funders. There's people who are doing philanthropy and yet trying to advance mindfulness, which I find myself in that space a lot. And my reason for, what brought me to that was, of course, my experiences with ALIA over the years. And I shared a story with them that they all were very, very curious about. And it had to do with Adam, that little 3E activity that we did. And I opened the subject by the way that I opened the sessions. I mean, I'm just not very skillful as a facilitator. It's not part of my shtick. But I found myself in a position when we were doing these things where I had to introduce why we were all together. And I can remember saying, for me, it's about my grandsons. And by the way, this was 3 years before my first grandchild was born, almost 18 years ago now. And I said, I really don't want to be sitting in a room with my grandchildren in the future, explaining to them why I was sitting on my hands when the planet was catching a fever and we were responsible for it. And a happy story, sort of a sequel to that, the fruition. 3 weeks ago, I was sitting in my basement, Temba, some of you have been there, with my 3 grandsons, who are now 15 years old, identical twin boys who are 15, and Jack, who is about to turn 15. And I had a conversation with them about 3E and why I did it. They got it. No regrets. I was so pleased about that. Yeah. I mean, as I sit here and look at each of you, I mean, I could talk all day about the influence that you've had, but it's just, it overwhelms me, actually. The subject, by the way, that we were talking about was ripples, and the ripples were the questions of what were the ripples. Started with ALIA, and then, you know, it went forward from there. I actually have lost that sense of urgency that I used to have as well, by the way. I just get up and follow what the universe is actually pushing me towards. It's a really interesting and subtle communication, but if you're able to touch into that natural intuition, that natural essential nature that appears in the space between your thoughts, it's so spacious. I mean, there is no need to be in a hurry in Christ. Whether it all gets done or even what the all is doesn't matter in a certain way. It's how you are, and just be that. Just be still. And in that comes the peace and the tranquility that I think we are all seeking. And as you show up that way, I find it calms every room down. It calms every interaction down. It invites the decency and the kindness that's actually there. And even the most difficult people. And I must say, when you watch the US Congress these days, it's very hard to believe what I just said, but I've had a narcissist in our family as the next son-in-law, and I watched him just about drive my bipolar daughter to suicide. And the way you work with that is I think maybe there's some, Adam, I'm so amazed at your work, that some of the solving tough problems, the stuff that you've ventured into, you know. And I'm always reminded about, and I'm always asking the question, so what do you do with this crazy? And it takes so much decency to neutralize even the least bit of vile behavior and nastiness. The good news is we live in a world where actually there must be enough decency or we wouldn't have as much sanity as we have. So I take that as an encouraging note, you know. So just keep piling it on, just keep sending out, doing your part, just keep being that. And as we keep doing that, and this is why this group is so powerful for me. I mean, here we are all these years later and you're all still doing it. I mean, you're the real deal, you know. Anyway, that's it for me. I don't know if I've answered all your questions, but that's what I felt like sharing. And thank you all for listening.
I could pick up, John, on your ripple.
Mm.
So, like others know, ALIA really completely changed my life. Completely.
Mm-mm-mm. We're not hearing you, Arowana. We're not hearing you, Arowana.
I think it's because somebody was trying to telephone me at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah, so this was life-changing, right? For me, somebody was actually interested in what I was doing after kind of a couple decades of, of nobody being interested. So I'm super grateful to all of you and for those days in which there was support for what was called creative process then, and what is kind of evolving into some kind of social arts that Barbara and I are still very involved in. So very, very grateful, and have no idea what life would have been like without ALIA. So today, I really enjoy working with Presencing and student colleagues. Dorian is one of them. And I love my team, and the work is really, impossible, has been impossible around, how do you teach, how do you work with social presencing theater online for 2 years? Completely not possible. And we just had to do it anyways. And now trying to be in rooms without getting sick. So that's slightly impossible also at the moment. But the work is very enjoyable and humorous, and I appreciate that. I appreciate being able to write, that the book social presencing book now is out in Chinese, Italian, Spanish, and I really appreciate that I get a chance to think and write a little bit with colleagues. What's challenging is that most of the work is not in the US. Almost all of it is Europe and Latin America. And being old is challenging for me physically, and being on the road, which has both health and ethical echoes. And so trying to work in the US, and which I've never been, practically never. I mean, Judy invited me to do something in her house about 1,000 years ago. There's been very little since then, actually, except for Phil. Every year, Phil and I work together, and but generally it's not been a fertile area for me. So this year, I have received an award from the Fetzer Institute around spirituality and racial justice. So much of the work now is focused on programs in the BIPOC community in the US. Just beginning this work, it's definitely in the challenge area. Like, this is not my field, particularly. I'm not trained in trauma work, and much of it is trying to really learn. And so that's, being in the US and working in this particular area right now is a privilege and a real challenge. And there's a lot of fear. I have a lot of fear around it. So that's always good to know that you're, alive and moving in a direction of learning. Yeah, so I'm trying to have this idea that we need a space in the US. Presencing Institute has no locations. And so I'm trying to think about whether we could make some kind of social presencing theater, social arts studio space, since studio work is so important in what we do. And so that's a challenge. And I'm just grateful for support for so many friends and colleagues and teachers and mentors, and my own family, who've just been fantastic. As people have said, I have these 3 wonderful grandchildren. They don't live around the corner from me, but I get to see them, and they're such interesting people. So yeah, that's me.
Thanks, Rowana. And I wanted to check, I know we only have 5 minutes. I don't know if I have time to check in or whether I'm preempting a scheduled next activity, but I'll check in as quickly as I can. The first thing, and just joining late, apologies, but it was the only way I could do 2 things at once and not do both of them badly. So joy at seeing you. Speaking of moments of joy, just getting on the call and looking around and thinking, wow. And then a sense of maybe I'm about to join the group really for real, because I have gray hair again now. And I feel like I'm finally entered into my legacy years. And I just felt such enormous gratitude at the fact that 20 years ago, you each were so generous to me as this kind of baby facilitator wannabe. And this is not to put myself down back then, but I didn't know what I didn't know. And everybody in this room and others was so generous in spirit and intellect in allowing me to show up as best I could at that time. And so that has brought me just a moment of great self-compassion that I I am determined to share with others who may be at their stage of growth, where they think they know what they know, and it's all that there is, and they don't. And I'm also then transported to 10 years from now. I'll probably look back at these comments and think, what a pinhead. Little did I know that there was so much more to discover. But I'm just going to do the best I can every single day. And your generosity changed my life for the best. So just deep appreciation and gratefulness. And every time I get on these calls, I get emotional and start crying, which drives me crazy, but that's just the way it is. So thank you.
Well, I'll see if I can give a 1 minute check-in. What do I feel good about? I feel good about friends. I'm just so happy to be able to have so many friends who really matter, and we often do things together. And of course, you all are people with whom I did things together, and I'm grateful for the atmosphere we've created here in the last 60 minutes, and the ideas about non-urgency and not doing, and those all feel very relevant to me. If I have a struggle, it's all self-created. I published a book a couple of years ago called Numbskull in the Theater of Inquiry. And I'm such a numbskull that I couldn't quite take in that nobody in the academic world would touch the book with a 10-foot pole because of the title. It was just another instance of telling the truth. So glad to be with you this morning. Hope to see you again.
Well, I could do a very distilled check-in, and then Susan could close the space here. I am feeling good about the way I'm holding space for others in my life right now in intimate settings. And I just feel like I'm building some capacity to be in conversation, and I get nourished and it nourishes others, and it's some alignment in this time that we're in. So feeling proud of that. And I'm struggling with the fact that in my mid-70s, I'm actually taking, and it seems that I'm involved with a new person, and I'm really, a lot of fear is coming up, of course, my wounded heart, and I'm hanging in there with it. It's amazing. And what I'm grateful for is that my body's strong, that I'm dancing, I'm swing dancing with my 32-year-old son, and that I'm willing to take a chance and say yes to something scary.
Mm.
It's everyone, right? Yeah.
Mm.
I resonated with so many things that were said, and I'm grateful to be in this room with you all. It feels like you're all my teachers, and that collectively there's something bigger than all of us. It's also my teacher. And I think my edge is around really being in a place, and I'm doing, I don't know, connecting with my own ancestors who I tried to leave behind, and I'm trying to connect with this land in a genuine way and a respectful way to arrive here properly, and to have good relationships with the indigenous people here. And yeah, I just feel like things are getting simpler in a way, and more grounded, and that kind of learning just feeds me in a different way now. And so touching in with this, it's like touching in with an ancestor, and for me, in that it helps me realize that I've grown,
And also it helps me remember and appreciate how much I've been supported along the way. And how much I want to therefore give to those who are coming along. My children and the younger people who are having such a hard time, many of them with the background of anxiety about climate and not knowing whether they even have a future. So I just feel really moved to try and be here in the best way I can, to be a support and to be present in a full way. So I guess it is time to close, and I don't know, I don't know whether to keep doing this or whether this is good enough, or maybe, and I don't want to like push for a decision about that right now, I guess. So if anybody has thoughts about that, or if anybody wants to host something, or a thought about where this could go, if it wants to go, please maybe let me know, and then we can just go, figure that out. So anyway, thank you so much for coming today and for all your good work and all your good energy and love in the world. It's so important. Thank you.
And Susan, thank you for this. And also because you're part of every one of these things that have happened and people talked about here. And I'm forever grateful for my time with you. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Phil.
Ditto, ditto, ditto.
I've still got my reindeer too.
One thing, Susan, that occurs to me that there may be a larger circle than the people who actually showed up who are still interested in having one or two of these. So maybe we could just be curious about that and see where that wants to go.
Yeah. And Susan, I wanted to say that looking around, I think none of us have settled for good enough in our lives. Ever. So.
Adios.
Blessings
Bye.
all. Wonderful to be together.
Bye, neighbors.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.